I think the most obvious thing about video painting is that it has, unusually I suppose, criteria which are required for it to be determined as a video painting, and those are that the work must consist of a still camera, that there can be no subsequent editing, that there is no sound, and no subsequent manipulation of the image. But these criteria aren't there just for some sort of abstract desire to constrain ourselves. The reason that the initial collective of artists decided on this definition of video painting was because we were trying to break what I would describe as the filmic gaze, or the televisual gaze, that we apply to moving images. Moving images are something we spend an enormous amount of time looking at in our lives. I think it's said that by the time we're adults, each of us have seen something like 20,000 hours of moving images. That's a spectacular amount of time to learn how to look at them, how to interpret them, how to understand what they are. And we become masters at interpreting moving images. But what we become masters at is masters at looking for meaning. We look for meaning in every part of the moving image. Well, what is this object here? What is that object there? What is this person doing? Where are they going? Where are they coming from? And then there's a bigger sort of meaning, which is the narrative of the whole space. So we've learned to do that. I mean, we've learned as a culture to do it over the last 100 years. And that's the way that we see. And it's the filmic gaze. So when we started out, the desire was to break through that televisual filmic gaze and to break through to another way of seeing moving images. To try and see somehow another way of seeing the world. And that's where we started from. So the criteria for video painting are just crutches, really, to try and find this alternative way of seeing. And the early video paintings were simply an attempt to break from that televisual filmic gaze and to find ways of seeing the world just as open. So they were trying to be as non-narrative as possible, to have as little intervention as possible, to allow the eye to wander across the scene and catch sight of all sorts of things you wouldn't normally catch sight of. But interestingly, as the medium has developed, the meaning and what I would call closure has started to be reintroduced by artists. And what I think many of us are most interested in now is the cusp of narrative and closure and the openness which video painting is really about underneath, of driving towards this open space and catching sight of a different way of seeing the world. Now, the prize today was, and the entries for the prize exhibited exactly this shift. So there was a lot more intervention by the artists. There's a lot more authorial clarity or authorial intervention by the artists, sometimes deliberately creating a scene, which I think once upon a time would have been anathema for us, and which shows the way in which the video paintings are developing, and why indeed, from my point of view, it was so exciting to see the range of work today and see the way in which the medium is developing and the potential for it to develop further. And of course, it's always a great pleasure to escape from the mayhem of London on a Friday afternoon and all of those deadlines and meanings and closures that we inhabit in our lives, and just for a time find ourselves in a space which is trying to take us to somewhere else that's a richer and more open space.